Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to continue on with today. We're going to look at some special selections, which is where one of you tell me exactly what I need to be looking at. Today's special selection comes at us from Tristan. It says, "Hey Bryan, this time I've got something a little harder to listen to for you. Dismal, Azafen. Dismal is from Hong Kong and play DSBM. I had to look that one up. It is depressive black metal. The song in question is named after a Russian antidepressant, and while there are no lyrics available, I'm pretty sure you'll get what it's about when listening to it. I hope you can find at least some enjoyment even in it, even though it may be a bit draining. Greetings from Germany." Alright, so I am not ready for this given that description, but as usual, we go in with an open mind and see what happens. Alright, so this is Dismal, Azafen. Yeah, heavily weighted to the left. There we go. There's that balance. All right. Was not expecting that. I think I'm in the right headspace now. Yeah, that new cymbal rhythm's making this real groovy, which is interesting given how smooth the rhythm is. In very stark opposition to the vocals so far. It's very lo-fi. It's not quite hitting that wall of sounds like we've heard before, but it definitely does not have a clean distinction in the instruments. Yeah, there's a lot of anguish in this vocal style. It definitely feels like a lot of compression put on top of singing. Yeah, hitting that quasi-triplet breakdown there. The guitars are both doing tremolo picking. They're I'm trying to, the mix is making it difficult. I'm trying to listen if they are playing two different things, maybe changing notes at different times, but they're definitely harmonizing. interesting how I can hear some emo influence in the music, even a little bit of maybe post-hardcore. I'm not really getting a lot of black metal out of it. Yeah, really cool. They're not really working within too many resolutions in this solo. We have our leading tone into that screech. That screech does not resolve that progression. Widening out this sparse section with the reverb and the delay. And we got a variation on it, injecting an extra riff inside of this area that we had no playing earlier. Once again, just real strong idea of groove. Are the vocals back, just really low in the mix? There's something going on in the background. I like what the guitar is doing on the right here. There's a lot of dissonance at play here, but I think it's more of a subtle dissonance being used as a slight texture. It's weird, it sits between this idea of harmonious and dissonant. I don't know if it's because the notes are being played so quickly. And it might actually not be dissonance. It might just be the way the distortion from the two guitars is amplifying itself. Wait. Technically, there's 19 more seconds, so I want to see. Oh no, never mind. I was right. We stopped. We stopped right at the spot. I have reading comprehension issues today. Um. So I have a lot of questions, certainly. Um. And I'm not sure I have too much insight for this request, but I am going to point out a lot of things that I noticed, and we'll see if that can take me somewhere in my analysis. But I think I'm going to start with my questions first. What is depressive black metal? Because I don't hear black metal in here at all. I hear a very exaggerated form of emo. And I don't say that just because the vocals, uh, the music, the rhythmic ideas in the music, the chordal ideas in the music, some of the melody lines in the guitars, all of it feels very emo to me. Or maybe even post hardcore, maybe. Um, the only part that I think that really screams black metal to me is the tremolo picked guitars, and I don't see that as being a frequent enough used technique to really call that to really call the genre or the genre of this song black metal. To me, that is more of a subtle change in what the guitars are playing. It's more of a rhythmic change than I would say a genre trope with how they use it and how frequently it's utilized. The depressive part makes sense. That part of the genre name makes sense to me. But the black metal, I'm not seeing it, and maybe this is more of like post punk, where I'm focusing on the wrong thing. Because when we explored post punk, I tried to examine the music as related to what I understood punk to be, and well, one, I was kind of wrong in what I understood punk to be, but they also took ideas from punk and chose to go with a different sound while utilizing the core ideas of the genre. And I think that might be what's happening here is that however black metal might be classified in opposition to metal as a subgenre, depressive black metal works in the same realm, that it acts as a subgenre. We have a subgenre of black metal, and it differentiates itself in other ways, but it still stemmed from black metal. But I want to point that out because what I was expecting coming into the song, given that this was depressive black metal, I saw it as an adjective genre name. And I was going, I'm envisioning something fast, aggressive, lots of attacks, but with a dark or sad atmosphere to it. And that is not what was delivered on. So I'm a little taken back by that. Um, the other thing I have to ask is the vocals. Are they always like that? Is that how the vocalist always expresses themselves? Or is that something specifically for this song? I'm a bit curious about that. One, because of the technique. I mentioned that to me, it sounds like full on singing with a ton of compression put on top of it. I'm no vocal coach, but I've heard that that is the wrong way to go about it. Uh, when you're going for a heavily distorted sound like Fry screams and growls, you do not want to engage your singing voice. Uh, Again, I'm not a vocal coach. I'm not a singer. I'm just going off of things that I have picked up over the years, listening to other more wiser people in those regards. I am very curious if this is something that this person does all the time. I'm not saying that it's not a sustainable technique for everyone, just that it's not a sustainable technique for most people. There's always going to be outliers to the norm. And if this person can do this style of vocal delivery constantly, all the time, in every song, more power to them. Uh, I just it's an interesting thing to hear because it's like I said, I've heard this idea always spoken about as something to avoid. But the other side of the coin with the vocals is that they are, at least for me, very difficult to listen to. I think it's difficult for two reasons. The latter half of the song, or I should say maybe the last minute and a half, 2 minutes, somewhere around there, I felt like the vocals really started to shine through at creating the emotional space that this style can do. And I think part of that was some of the ways that breath was incorporated into the vocal line. There were a couple moments of what seemed to be like sobbing, a lot of vocal warble put in. Vocal warble. I guess that would be vibrato, but this seems less vibrato-ish and more warbly. I, I don't know if anybody understands uh, what kind of difference what kind of separation I'm trying to make between those two. But vibrato tends to have more of an additive characteristic, and this warbling seemed to be more of a destructive characteristic, even though they're both, a shaking of the notes, kind of raising it and lowering it in pitch and kind of getting some sharpness and flatness out of it to provide movement to a held note. The intention is the same, but I'd say that the end result, how it sounds, is different, or how it's perceived might be different. This doesn't sound like vibrato to me. It sounds like a type of warbling, which could also be involuntary. The sobbing kind of put me on edge. It kind of felt real, not played up. In which case, some of the vocal quavering, wobbling. We're gonna stick with wobbling. It could have been unintentional for sure, which just adds to the haunting element of that ending. However, I didn't get any of that at the beginning when the vocals first came in. It was played more straight, and in that environment, it was grating. It was not something I enjoyed, not because it was tense or uncomfortable due to the emotional status, but because it was just uncomfortable to listen to, like nails on a chalkboard. And I think it's interesting how subtle variation to that technique shifted it from I don't like this because it irritates me to I don't like this because I can feel what the singer's feeling. Right? There's a lot more empathy and sympathy, and you get brought into the vocalist's world, into the vocalist mindset and emotional state. But like I said, I to me, it's either going to work like at the end, and it's really going to suck me in and be like, "Yo, this is what they're feeling right now. You got to feel it too." But to me, that's novelty. I don't know how long that would work. By the sixth or seventh song, am I still getting engrossed by these lyrical type, by this vocal type? I don't know. I think by the end of an album, the novelty would have worn off, and everything is going to feel irritating or grating to listen to. So that's another reason why I brought up how often this vocal delivery is utilized by the singer. At least for me, as a casual listener, I would not be able to listen to a whole album of that, even if there would be times, like the end of this song, where it does actually come together and click and work effortlessly at employing a specific emotional sense. So, yeah, I think that's what I have to say about the singer. That's all I'm going to touch on the singer. Pretty sure I've exhausted that. Let's move on to some of the music. Now, this, I don't think there was as much interesting elements going on, as many interesting elements going on. A lot of what the instruments were doing were creating the atmosphere and the soundscape for the vocals to be within. And I want to touch on that specifically later because of the way things are mixed in various places. But I do feel like the vocals are the spotlight of the song, and everything else is there to provide the environment for the vocals to flourish. They're providing the atmosphere, the vibe, the emotion to really drive home what the vocals are trying to get across. And of course, that emotion, that vibe, that atmosphere is, I don't know if depression is the right word, even though that's what the genre is called, but it's definitely dark and moody. There is tinges of sadness throughout. There's elements of irresolution. There's a lot of chord progressions that don't resolve. There's a lot of cyclical ideas going on in here, but there's also ideas of that. What would be the opposite of resolution? Um, like the guitar solo, for instance, in the middle of the song, tends to go through the three very basic first three steps of a chord progression. We have a root, and then we have a like sort of directional transitional chord. Then we move. Well, they're not chords because he was playing triads. I think it was going up and down. Uh, yeah, I think there were three. He would play at the bottom, middle, bottom, middle, high, middle, and then shift to the next chord and keep that movement up. So when I say chords, I'm not talking about him playing chords specifically, but when you take all three of those notes in each triad, you know, you're going to have a chord progression based off of those. So we have root, we have transition, we have direction, which tells us where we should be going next to find our resolution, and then we don't resolve in that fourth bar. It feels like we're going to. And then the final note is some sort of screechy harmonic. And not only is it abrasive and dissonant, but it is altogether just the wrong note to be moving to next. Also, since we are moving in this up and down pattern, we expect to be coming down. We expect the next note to be lower, and so we jump up, not just a little bit, but like an octave and a half, 2 octaves maybe. I'm not sure how large of a distance the harmonic is from the note prior, but it's a huge jump. So it's in the wrong direction. It's at a large interval, and it is a note that's not supposed to be the one we're going to, and it just has a bunch of tension and dissonance in it, most likely from the amplification and overdrive, and maybe even some elements of the harmonic itself creating vibrations that are getting overtones and undertones and creating some clashing of noise there. It is just an altogether abrasive, disappointing sound almost. We were expecting to go somewhere to have a cathartic release of all this tension that's been building, and instead we are introduced to more tension, which is just, geez. Uh, so yeah, there's just a lot of elements of cyclical concepts where we don't resolve anywhere. We just continue to see these loops in the chord progression. We have elements like in the solo where we don't resolve at all. And in that extreme case where we have the opposite of a resolution, almost on every aspect it's an opposite, it is it is just a very non-cathartic song. It continues to induce stress and to be destructive at every moment. However, that's just the musical harmonic element. There's also the rhythmic element. I really dig the rhythms here, and it's interesting that so much of the song comes off to me as purposefully destructive or abrasive, um, or just not allowing the listener to relax. There's always elements of stress and tension throughout, unless you're just jiving with the grooving with the drums. It is just, you just listen to that drums and you just get into a nice beat. just get into a nice movement, and you can kind of fall into the song and kind of forget about the rest of the stuff that's happening. I know I did that a couple of times. I would check out the guitars, and they'd be doing some, dark, moody stuff, and I'd check out the vocalist, and they're screaming over there, and I check into the drums. I'm like, yep, oh, real nice bell work. Not simple work, but like getting up at the top of the bell and getting that real nice bright tinging sounds occasionally. Just really nice, beautiful stuff, especially utilizing, I would say, the cymbals to create elements of bright pockets within this overall dark atmosphere. And just really starting to groove with this guitar. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing an analysis. I gotta, switch gears. Let's see what the guitar's doing. Oh, geez, that's right. That's what they're doing. Listen to the vocalist. Oh, yeah. Forgot they were doing that. That's kind of getting on my nerves. What's the drums? Oh, yeah. Drums. And just like, I just forget about everything else. It's really interesting. And I don't know if this is intentional. I just pocketed into this, fell into this pocket. The song's called Azafen, and as Dustin Tristan. I got the last syllable kind of right. As Tristan said, oh, it's named after a Russian antidepressant. So antidepressants are supposed to help regulate chemical imbalances in the brain to make you feel happier. I don't know the science behind it. I don't know what uh, specifically they're suppressing or causing your brain to produce more of, but it's to help your brain possibly, in a sense, focus on more positive things rather than get hyper attentive on the more negative aspects. And I do think it's interesting that the drums in here exist as a way for me to forget about the abrasiveness and harshness and tension and stress in just about everything else of the song. Again, I don't know if that's intentional. It's just my listening. It's how I heard it. But the drums were always there to provide me comfort if the rest of the song was starting to become too much for me. So I think that's a cool little tie-in that at least I heard, I felt. But there is also something, I don't want to say comforting, but maybe comforting's the best word, about the dark groove, the dark atmosphere in the song. Aside from the guitar solo, when you just check out the guitar and the bass in any other aspect of the song where they're mostly providing atmospheric stuff, there is it's it's heavy, it's moody, but like I said, it's not really sad. It's not really depressive. It's not really overbearing. It's just dark and moody. And at least for me, I kind of enjoy it. It's not oppressive. It's not aggressive. It's not depressive. I don't know if I said that one already, but it is dark, and I think it provides, especially when you mix that well with the drum groove. I think it provides this nice kind of groovy atmosphere to just sort of, nod your head along to. And maybe, uh, I don't know. I was going to say maybe that has something to do with the vocalist feeling overwhelmed and stressed to the point that the vocals are produced the way they are to demonstrate that stressing, and then the music is the antidepressant. But see, now I think I'm reading into it too much because the middle he stops or they stop screaming, and that could be seen as the antidepressant working, and then possibly the ending when they come back and end up sobbing and having the voice wavering and all that could be the antidepressant wearing off or running out of it or the body becoming immune to it or it losing effectiveness or something. But like I said, I think I'm starting to get into the realm of reading into it too much, and without knowing the lyrics, I don't want to do too much guessing on that realm. But yeah, I think it's an interesting track. I would put this in if I were to rate this, it would be an artistic appreciation thing. where I think they did a fantastic job at what they set out to do, but it's not something I'm necessarily going to want to listen to. But that the thing that they set out to do is also very unique, and they're bringing a very specific, interesting take to this idea. So, yeah, good pick. We don't usually have bad picks on these special selections, but there are some like this where I probably would never have heard it on my own time. Um, I doubt it would crop up in any of the theme stuff. Special selection is really where some of this weirder stuff has a chance to shine. And while, like I said, I don't think I'll ever listen to it again, I'm really glad I got the chance to experience it once, which is, to me, that's like the highest praise for something artsy. Not something I want to uh, dive into all the time, but I'm glad I experienced it. It's an experience, not, I don't know. What's the opposite? No. You know what? I'm not going to worry about this. We're going to do the sign off. Those are my thoughts on Dismal's Azafen. This is where you guys come in, though. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this or not. Anything that stuck out to you that maybe I didn't touch on. Anything that is very important. If you have any, not context, I was going to say contrast. If you have any context for the track or the vocalist, how any of this stuff comes together, please let me know about it. Above the description box, above the comment area is a description box. And there is a link for a link tree, which will take you to a menu with everything related to the channel. You can join the Discord community, support me through Patreon, follow me on Twitter, email me, submit your own special selection, whatever you want to do. It's all there, all those links. It's a really easy thing to navigate. Works well on mobile, works well on desktop, whatevs. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 10 p.m. UTC? Yes. 10 p.m. UTC, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure we did our time thingy yesterday, so. Yeah, that's it. 5 p.m. EST, 10 p.m. UTC. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to. And have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.